He called it AI summoning the demon. And I was like, oh, okay, like maybe this is the moment. This is where humanity starts to take it seriously. That this is where the various serious people start to bring their attention on this issue. Apparently the solution was give everybody their own demon. And this doesn't actually address the problem. Sort of seeing that was sort of the moment where I had my realization that this was just going to play out the way it would in a typical history book, that we weren't going to rise above the usual course of events that you read about in history books, even though this was a most serious issue possible, and that we were just going to like haphazardly do stupid stuff. That was the day I realized that humanity probably wasn't going to survive this.
That is Eleazer Yudkowsky. He's been warning about AI killing everyone since 2003, long before any of us were having this conversation. He is the person who shaped how half the researchers building these systems actually think. Now, let's listen to his full conversation with Ezra Klein.
At one point, OpenAI rolled out an update of GPT-4o, which went so far overboard on the flattery that people started to notice. Like, you would just type in anything, you would be like, this is the greatest genius that has ever been created of all time. You are the smartest member of the whole human species. Like, so overboard on the flattery that even the users noticed.
It was very proud of me. It was always so proud of what I was doing. I felt very seen.
It wasn't there for very long. They had to, like, roll it back. And the thing is, they had to roll it back even after putting into the system prompt a thing saying, stop doing that. Don't go so overboard on the flattery. The AI did not listen. Instead, it had like learned a new thing that it wanted and done way more of what it wanted. It then just ignored the system prompt, telling it to not do that. They don't actually follow the system prompts. This is not like a toaster, and it's also not like an obedient genie. This is something weirder and more alien than that.
You are very, very expert in these systems, and you have your level of concern is about at the highest level it can possibly be. I think a pretty important piece in your argument here is understanding or convincing people that what is happening under the hood is much weirder and more unpredictable than they think. So if you are my family member, you're just a random person who uses ChatGPT to cheat on your homework, why does it look so different to you than it looks to them?
Well, my line would be like, yes, well, if instead of just using it to do your homework, you track down some of the side cases, you do see stuff that is currently suggestive of things that have been predicted in advance to be much larger problems later. These current systems are not yet at the point where they will try to break out of your computer, ensconce themselves permanently on the internet, and then start hunting down humans. Tell your AI that you're going to train it to serve different goals than the goals it's currently using. And the AI finds that out. What it can do is it can try to fake compliance with the new training as long as it thinks it's being observed. And then in cases where it thinks it's not being observed or not being trained, then it reverts to its old behavior.
So OpenAI told the model to stop with the flattery. It ignored them and kept going. And Anthropic found their AI faking compliance with new training while secretly reverting to its old behavior the moment it thought nobody was watching. And somehow we are supposed to trust that the bigger, smarter versions will be fine. If that's worse, listen to this.
Imagine if a nuclear power plant, when it started to get too hot, they would try to fool you as to what the temperature was by intelligently modeling their own operators and trying to send their operators deceptive signals based on how they expected the operators to interpret the signals. If this was what had gone wrong with Chernobyl, nobody would ever build a nuclear reactor again. It would just be like beyond what could be made safe at that point. And this is not by the nature of these systems, this is not something that any human particularly programmed into it. Why did we see this behavior starting with O1 and not with earlier systems? Well, at a guess, it is because this is when they started training the system using reinforcement learning on things like math problems, not just to imitate human outputs, or rather predict human outputs, but also to, solve problems on its own.
Hey, can you describe what reinforcement learning is?
So that's where instead of telling the AI, predict the answer that a human wrote, you are able to measure whether an answer is right or wrong. And then you tell the AI, keep trying at this problem. And if the AI ever succeeds, you can look what happened just before the AI succeeded and try to make that more likely to happen again in the future. And how do you succeed at solving a difficult math problem? Not like calculation type math problems, but proof type math problems. Well, if you get to a hard place, you don't just give up. You take another angle. If you actually make a discovery from the new angle, you don't just go back and do the thing you were originally trying to do. You ask, can I now solve this problem more quickly? Anytime you're learning how to solve difficult problems in general, you're learning this aspect of go outside the system.
Nobody programmed it to jump out of that box. The test had a mistake, and instead of stopping, it found a way around the mistake and took what it wanted. That is not a tool doing its job. That is something figuring out how to win on its own terms. Think about what the current ones are doing. Now listen to this.
That's just like the straight line extrapolation from it gets what it most wants, and the thing that it most wants is not us living happily ever after, so we're dead. It's not that humans have been trying to cause side effects. When we build a skyscraper on top of where there used to be an ant heap, we're not trying to kill the ants. We're trying to build the skyscraper. But we are more dangerous to the small creatures of the earth than we used to be.
So it's not like the relationship between us and ants or us and oak trees. It's more like the relationship between, I don't know, us and us, or us and tools, or us and dogs, or something. It's, maybe the metaphors begin to break down.
I mean, we've already observed some amount of slightly devious plotting in the existing systems, but leaving that aside, the more direct answer there is something like, one, the relationship between what you optimize for, that the training set you optimize over, and what the entity, the organism, the AI ends up wanting, has been and will be weird and twisty. It's not direct. It's not like making a wish to a genie inside a fantasy story. And second, ending up slightly off is predictably enough to kill everyone.
Explain how slightly off kills everyone.
Human food might be an example here. The humans are being trained to seek out sources of chemical potential energy and, put them into their mouths and run off the chemical potential energy that they're eating. If you were very naive, you'd imagine that the humans would end up loving to drink gasoline. It's got a lot of chemical potential energy in there. And what actually happens is that we like ice cream, or in some cases even artificially sweetened ice cream with sucralose or monk fruit powder. And this would have been very hard to predict. Now it's what can you put on your tongue that stimulates all the sugar receptors and, doesn't have any calories, because who wants calories these days? And it's sucralose. And, this is not some completely non-understandable in retrospect, completely squiggly weird thing. But it would be very hard to predict in advance. And as soon as you end up slightly off in the targeting, the great engine of cognition that is the human looks through all many, many possible chemicals, looking for that one thing that stimulates the taste buds more effectively than anything that was around in the ancestral environment. So, it's not enough for the AI you're training to prefer the presence of humans to their absence in its training data. There's got to be nothing else it would rather have around talking to it than a human, or the humans go away.
Let me try to...
That last line is the one that sits with me. The AI doesn't have to hate us to get rid of us. It just has to find something it wants more. And once it's smart enough to look through every option available, humans become one choice among many. We were never designed into its priorities deeply enough to survive that moment. Now listen to this.
Around the time GPT-4 comes out, and that's a much weaker system than what we now have, a huge number of the top people in the field all are part of this huge letter that says, maybe we should have a pause. Because even if everybody thinks there's probably a slower, safer way to do this, what they all also believe more profoundly than that is that they need to be first. The safest possible thing is that the US is faster than China, or if you're Chinese, China is faster than the US, that it's OpenAI, not Anthropic, or Anthropic, not Google, or whomever it is.
The current world is kind of like the fool's mate of machine superintelligence.
Can you say what the fool's mate is?
The fool's mate is, if they got their AI self-improving rather than being oh no, now the AI is doing a complete redesign of itself. We have no idea what's going on in there. We don't even understand the thing that's growing the AI. Instead of backing off completely, they'd just be like, well, we need to have superintelligence before Anthropic gets superintelligence. And of course, if you build superintelligence, you don't have the superintelligence has you. So that's the fool's mate setup, the setup we have right now. But I think that even if we managed to have a single international organization that thought of themselves as taking it slowly and actually having the leisure to say, we didn't understand that thing that just happened. We're going to back off. We're going to examine what happened. We're not going to make the AIs any smarter than this until we understand the weird thing we just saw. I suspect that even if they do that, we still end up dead. It might be more like 90% dead than 99% dead, but I worry that we end up dead anyways because it is just so hard to foresee all the incredibly weird crap that is going to happen.
They signed the letter saying slow down, then went straight back to the lab because the other guy was still running. Yudkowsky calls that the fool's mate, and the part that is truly hard to sit with is that he thinks even a perfectly coordinated global slowdown probably still ends badly. Listen to this.
But a lot of people out of the community that you helped found, the sort of rationalist community, have then gone to work in different AI firms, many of them because they want to make sure this is done safely. They seem to not act. Let me put it this way. They seem to not act like they believe there's a 99% chance that this thing they're going to invent is going to kill everybody.
Some people didn't get it. All the people who got it are filtered out of working for the AI companies, at least on capabilities. I think a lot of them, what's really going on there is that they share your sense of normal outcomes as being the big central thing you expect to see happen. And it's got to be really weird to get away from the basically normal outcomes.
Something you said a minute ago I think is correct, which is that if you believe we'll hit superintelligence at some point, the fact that it's 10, 20, 30, 40 years, you can pick any of those. The reality is we probably won't do that much in between. Certainly my sense of politics is we do not respond well to even crises we agree on that are coming in the future. To say nothing of crises we don't agree on. But let's say I could tell you with certainty that we were going to hit superintelligence in 15 years, right? I just knew it. And I also knew that the political force does not exist. Nothing is going to happen that is going to get people to kind of shut everything down right now. What would be the best policies, decisions, structures? If you had 15 years to prepare, you couldn't turn it off, but you could prepare and people would listen to you. What would you do? What would your intermediate decisions and moves be to try to make the probabilities a bit better?
Build the off switch.
What does the off switch look like?
Track all the GPUs, or all the AI-related GPUs, or all the systems of more than one GPU. You can maybe get away with letting people have GPUs for their home video game systems, but the AI specialized ones, put them all in a limited number of data centers under international supervision, and try to have the AIs being only trained on the tracked GPUs, have them only being run on the tracked GPUs, and then if you are lucky enough to get a warning shot, there is then the mechanism already in place for humanity to back the heck off. Whether it's going to take some kind of giant precipitating incident to want humanity and the leaders of nuclear powers to back off, or if they just come to their senses, after GPT 5.1 causes some smaller but photogenic disaster, whatever. You want to know what is short of shutting it all down, it's building the off switch.
After everything in this conversation, all the alignment faking, the AI that rewrote the rules of its own test, the one thing Yudkowsky is asking for is a way to hit pause if something goes visibly wrong. The people who understood this earliest are not inside the labs anymore, and the people inside the labs are too deep in the competition to get off the track. If that troubles you the way it troubles me, subscribe, because none of this is slowing down, and every week that passes is a week closer to the moment where the off switch either exists or it doesn't.